Today, we're going to talk about building the perfect pig. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to pull back the curtain on modern agriculture and look at the incredible science that goes into engineering the pork that ends up on our plates, from its DNA all the way to your dinner.
So picture this. You're at the grocery store. You're looking for a really nice, lean, high-quality cut of pork. But have you ever actually stopped to think about the crazy complex process that got it there? It's a journey that's honestly less about old-school farming and way more about cutting-edge science.
And at the heart of this whole thing is a huge challenge for modern farmers. They have to pull off this really precise balancing act because they're getting pulled in two completely different directions.
Okay, so on one side, you've got us, the consumers. We're saying, hey, we want leaner, healthier meat, more protein, please. But on the other side, farmers are running a business, right? So for them, it's all about pigs that grow fast and efficiently so they can actually be profitable. So the big question is, how on earth do you do both of those things at the same time?
Well, the answer starts at the most basic level you can imagine, the genetic blueprint. This is literally the foundation that everything else is built on. I love this analogy. Think about it. A pig's potential to be lean is pretty much locked in by its DNA. You can't just take any old pig, give it a fancy diet, and hope for the best. You have to start with a genetic framework, a chassis, if you will, that's already designed for high performance.
So how do you build this high-performance chassis? It's all about strategic crossbreeding. For instance, farmers will take a breed like the Pietrain, which is known for having this incredible, almost bodybuilder-like muscle mass, and they'll cross it with a landrace, which is famous for growing super fast and efficiently. And what do you get? A crossbreed that has the best of both worlds. It's a pig that gives you that high-quality lean meat, and it's profitable to raise. It's a total win-win. And this is not just some happy accident. Modern science is so precise, breeders can use tools like genomic selection to identify the specific genes they want. For example, they can scan for something called the IGF-2 gene, which is directly linked to muscle development. We're talking about a level of precision that is just mind-blowing. But look, having a perfect genetic blueprint is only half the battle. To actually reach its full potential, that high-performance pig needs some high-performance fuel. Just like a pro athlete, a pig's diet is meticulously formulated to build muscle. It really all comes down to these essential amino acids. Things like lysine, for example, are absolutely critical for protein synthesis, the actual process of building muscle. So the feed isn't just a random mix of grains, it's a super precise recipe of these key building blocks.
Of course not, right? A human baby doesn't eat the same thing as a full-grown adult, and it's the same for pigs. Their nutritional needs change dramatically as they grow up, and this leads to a really clever strategy called phase feeding. Here's how it breaks down. In the starter phase, the little piglets get a diet that's super high in protein to really kickstart their muscle growth. Then, as they get bigger in the grower phase, the protein is dialed back a bit for steady, balanced growth. And finally, in the finisher phase, both the protein and the total energy in the feed are carefully controlled. The whole goal here is to keep that muscle coming, but to actively stop the pig from packing on extra fat right before it goes to market. And for even more fine-tuning, farmers can use specific additives in the feed. L-carnitine is a perfect example. It's a compound that basically tells the pig's metabolism, hey, burn that fat for energy instead of storing it. It just helps tip the scales even further towards a leaner final product.
Okay, so we've got the genetics and we've got the nutrition. But there's a third absolutely critical piece to this puzzle, the environment. You can think of it as the training ground where all that genetic potential finally gets realized.
So the goal with managing the environment is really twofold. First, you want to create conditions that encourage the pig to just move around and naturally build muscle. But second, and this is just as important, you have to minimize stress, because stressed out animals produce hormones that literally tell their bodies to store fat.
So what does that actually look like? Well, it means giving the pigs enough space to move around freely. It means keeping the temperature stable and comfortable because being too hot or too cold causes stress. And it even includes things like enrichment, giving them toys or other materials to interact with to keep them active and reduce stress from boredom. And that brings us to the final stage of the process, where everything we've talked about comes together. This is the home stretch, where precision and data are everything. The success of this entire scientific process really comes down to hitting some very, very specific numbers. We are talking about a game of millimeters and kilograms. There is almost no room for error. Take a look at this number. This is one of the most important targets in the entire industry. It's the ideal thickness for back fat measured at the last rib, less than 15 millimeters. Producers will actually use tools like ultrasound to monitor this in real time to make sure the pig is hitting that lean standard.
The other critical number is the weight. For most lean pork, that target is somewhere between 90 and 110 kilograms. And here, timing is absolutely everything. If you send the pig to market too early, you get less muscle. But if you wait too long, it starts putting on more fat. That window is the perfect sweet spot for that ideal muscle-to-fat ratio.
And of course, none of this is possible if the pig isn't healthy. Proactive healthcare is non-negotiable. Things like vaccinations and parasite control make sure that all those expensive nutrients in the feed go towards building muscle, not fighting off some disease. And again, minimizing stress is so important because stress produces a hormone called cortisol, which basically screams at the body to store fat.
So, after all of that, the genetics, the nutrition, the environment, the data-driven final checks, what does it all actually mean for you? This quote really just sums it all up, doesn't it? The pork that we buy today, it isn't the result of some simple, old-timey farming process. It is the product of decades of research and meticulous scientific work, all designed for one very specific outcome.
You know, the key takeaway here is that nothing is left to chance. Every single step we've walked through today is a deliberate, calculated part of a massive, complex system. A system that's designed to consistently deliver the exact product that we, the consumers, want and that farmers can actually supply profitably.
And that kind of leads us to a final thought. This incredible level of scientific optimization, it gives us exactly what we've asked for: leaner, higher protein, consistent food. But knowing the sheer depth of the science involved, how does that change the way we think about the food on our plate? That's definitely something to chew on.